Hello there. I'm Trevor.
And I'm Jessica. And on this episode of Somewhere in the Middle, we're heading up to Santa Barbara for a day trip.
That's right. Santa Barbara International Film Festival is premiering Kevin Costner's latest Western opus, Horizon, Chapter 2. So we're going. And on the way, we decided to stop at an authentic 1886 stagecoach for a Western-themed lunch. Let's go. When I found out that Horizon Chapter 2 was going to have its U.S. premiere at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival and that tickets were available, there was no hesitation. I had to go. And first and foremost, I am a huge Kevin Costner fan. Always have been, ever since I was a kid. Howdy, Jake.
Emmett! Oh, I'm glad to see you.
The first movie I ever saw Kevin Costner in was Silverado, which, by the way, is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. It was also the very first Western my parents took me to see in a theater. And let me tell you, that movie left a lasting impression. Silverado is one of my all-time favorite Westerns. And from that point on, if Kevin Costner was in a movie, I was watching it, whether my parents let me or not.
American Flyers. What a team.
American Flyers, Untouchables, No Way Out, Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, Revenge, Dances with Wolves, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, JFK, The Bodyguard, A Perfect World. The list goes on. I don't think there's a Kevin Costner role I haven't seen. And yes, I'm one of those people who will defend movies that get trashed, like Waterworld and The Postman. Say what you want, I'll die on that hill. But where Costner really shines? Westerns. Wyatt Earp, Open Range, and now Horizon? Maybe it all traces back to Silverado and how that movie shaped my love for the genre. Or maybe it's just the way he brings the Old West to life. Either way, I adore Kevin Costner, especially when he's in a cowboy hat. So when I had the chance to see Horizon 2 on the big screen, I jumped at it, especially knowing that this sequel was originally set for theatrical release last year, but got pulled after Horizon Chapter 1 underperformed at the box office. In my mind, seeing it at SBIFF might be my only shot to experience it in a theater. And the icing on the cake, Kevin Costner himself is here for a live Q&A. So yeah, there is no way I was missing this. A chance to see one of my favorite actors in a Western inside a theater I've been coming to for years? Sign me up.
Heading north along the California coast, there's nothing quite like the Pacific on one side and rolling hills on the other. It's a 2-hour drive to Santa Barbara, plenty of time to talk movies, grab some coffee, and soak in the views. Along the way, Trev had an idea. Originally, we planned to hit up La Superica Taqueria, an iconic taco spot in Santa Barbara, but considering we were making this trip to see Kevin Costner's next chapter in Horizon, why not make the whole experience a little more
thematic? That's when I suggested a detour. Cold Spring Tavern. This place is a hidden gem, an original 1886 stagecoach stop tucked away in the San Marcos Pass. It's a perfect setting for a Western-themed lunch before heading to the festival. A historic tavern, rustic vibes, and a meal that feels straight out of the Old West. It just seemed like the perfect way to kick off a day centered around Costner and Horizon. So I took my friends to Cold Tavern Springs, an old 1886 stagecoach restaurant. And we're in my old stomping grounds, and I'm pretty excited right now. Yeah.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
We're going to go see Horizon Chapter 2 in a little bit, so stick around.
Cold Spring Tavern isn't just a restaurant. It's a piece of California history. Originally established in 1886, this spot was a stagecoach relay station for travelers making their way through the rugged terrain of the San Marcos Pass. Back then, the journey was long, dusty, and treacherous, and Cold Spring Tavern provided a much-needed stop for weary passengers and their horses. Today, the tavern remains largely unchanged, preserving the Old West charm with log cabins, antique lanterns, and stone fireplaces. It's the kind of place that feels like stepping back in time, a true remnant of a bygone era.
Inside, you'll find walls lined with relics from the past, giving you a glimpse of what life might have been like for stagecoach travelers over a century ago. And while the history alone is worth a visit, Cold Spring Tavern is also known for its incredible food, something we're about to experience firsthand.
For lunch, we kicked things off with a classic wedge salad and a side of beer-battered onion rings. The wedge salad was a perfect balance: cool, crisp lettuce with salty, smoky crunch of bacon and a bold tang of blue cheese. And then the onion rings, golden, crispy perfection. These weren't just any onion rings. Each bite had the ideal crunch, and the onion didn't slide out of the batter like in some lesser versions. Instead, every bite was complete, packed with that satisfying contrast of crispy exterior and tender onion inside. A strong start to the meal.
Cold Spring Tavern holds a special place in culinary history as the first commercial establishment to serve what we now know as ranch dressing. In 1956, Stephen Henson, who had recently moved to the area and renamed his guest ranch Hidden Valley Ranch, introduced his homemade dressing to the tavern's owner, Audrey Ovington. Impressed by its unique flavor, Ovington began serving it as a Cold Spring Tavern, making it the condiment's inaugural commercial debut. Today, Cold Spring Tavern continues this legacy by featuring ranch dressing in several of its dishes. Notably, their local beer-battered onion rings are served with a side of ranch, offering a crispy and flavorful appetizer. You gotta think, it's pretty cool to experience a dressing that has become a staple in American cuisine right at its birthplace.
For our main course, I opted for the charbroiled venison sandwich, accompanied by grilled onions and a side of barbecue sauce. I also chose the soup of the day, a rich and creamy carrot soup that was reminiscent of a soothing tomato bisque, but without the acidity. I enjoyed it so much that I could eat it again and again. The venison sandwich was tender and lean, without any hint of gaminess. In fact, I found it so delectable that I decided to savor the meat on its own, setting aside the bread to fully appreciate its flavor.
I couldn't resist ordering the Cold Spring Tavern tri-tip sandwich, accompanied by a side of their savory and spicy chili. Growing up, tri-tip sandwiches were synonymous with visits to Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo. There's something about this region that just goes hand in hand with tri-tip. This regional specialty, known as Santa Maria-style barbecue, dates back to the mid-19th century. It originated in the Santa Maria Valley of Santa Barbara County, where local ranchers would host a Spanish-style feast, grilling beef over earthen pits filled with hot coals of native coast live oak, often referred to as red oak. Originally, large chunks of top sirloin were used, but in the 1950s, the tri-tip cut was introduced and quickly became a meat of choice for this style of barbecue. The beef is traditionally seasoned with black pepper, salt, and garlic, before being grilled slowly over red oak coals, imparting a smoky, hearty flavor. This method has become a mainstay of California's culinary heritage. Tri-tip at Cold Spring Tavern lived up to this rich tradition. The meat had a perfect texture, tender and easy to chew, with a delightful bark that added an extra layer of flavor. Each bite was phenomenal, embodying the essence of Santa Maria-style barbecue. The side of chili was equally impressive. It was savory and spicy, with deep flavors that suggest it had been simmering for hours, allowing all the ingredients to meld together beautifully. It was a kind of dish that warms you from the inside out.
Our lunch was hearty and filling, perfectly aligning with the Western theme of our day. It set the stage wonderfully for the next chapter of our adventure, attending the U.S. premiere of Kevin Costner's Horizon Chapter 2.
This place is freaking amazing. I've been coming here my whole life, but coming here now at 47 years old, it's a lot different. And I don't know, there's just a lot more history and a lot more sort of love for what it is. And all the years that my family bringing me here, so. 1875. Look at that. Or 1873, my bad. Oh, hi. Yeah, jail. That's awesome. Imagine you come up to the stagecoach and you've had a little too much to drink and they just said, you know what, I've had about enough of you. We're putting you in the cell. Doesn't look like the best of quarters there, but
I've been looking here for hours.
let me out! Let me out!
Oh, the dinosaur again. There's a dinosaur in there.
For real?
Yeah, look.
That's awesome.
Dinosaur.
Look at
Teddy.
that.
Teddy T-Rex right there.
Little Teddy. What does this say here? Ojai. Built by Constable Andrew Van Kuren in 1873. This in his backyard in Ojai, California. For his convenience, the jail has 2 rooms and held up to 11 men. Holy shit. Years later, Clara Koch, I don't know how you pronounce that, purchased the property and discovered the jail's historic significance. She repeatedly offered it to the city of Ojai, that the city declined. And Audrey Ovington was happy to receive it as a gift. In 1959, it was carried over the mountain on a flatbed truck. Holy moly, this is amazing. So 11 men could be jailed up in here. So get rowdy at the stagecoach. Not stagecoach. Well, it says a stagecoach, but get rowdy at the Cold Springs Tavern, and you're gonna find yourself in the Ojai jail. Man, so one of the workers here said, "You got to do the whiskeys after hearing the story that we're gonna go see Horizon," and he's not wrong. We're at a stagecoach. Get a little whiskey at a stagecoach. So let's go. Here we go. Cold Spring Tavern, the Cold Spring Bar. Let's go.
We decided shots of whiskey.
No, I think that was perfect in the sense of what today has been.
Another great fire. Thank you, dear.
All right.
Unknowingly selected stagecoach whiskey, which is made in Santa Barbara.
There you go.
Ooh.
Perfect. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's good.
Very cool.
Does that work?
Ooh, that works for me. Setting. Cheers to Horizon. Chapter
Yeah.
2. The only downside of this and the whole vibe is the Bee Gees right now. I'm like,
It's not quite fitting your field.
not fitting my like. I'm thinking like rustling guitar, and then I got, you should be dancing. So a little off on that, but other than that, let's go. Done a good job. Cold Spring Tavern was more than just a meal. It was an experience. From the scenic drive up through the San Marcos Pass to stepping into the historic grounds, every moment felt like a step back in time. The rustic charm of the tavern, the warmth of the staff, and the incredible food all made for a truly memorable visit. It was one of those amazing core memories, the kind you talk about for years to come. With stomachs full and even fuller hearts, it was time to head down the mountain and into Santa Barbara for the main event, Horizon Chapter 2. The Arlington Theatre isn't just a venue. It's a Santa Barbara icon. Originally built in 1931, it is the largest single-screen movie theater in town, and stepping inside feels like entering another era. With its Spanish colonial design, twinkling ceiling that mimics a starry night, and grand atmosphere, It's the kind of place that makes any movie feel like an event. For me, the Arlington holds a lot of personal history. Back in the 90s, when I was in college here in Santa Barbara, I saw plenty of movies at this very theater, including the often mocked Batman and Robin, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and George Clooney.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
Hey, it may not have been a masterpiece, but the experience of seeing it here was unforgettable. Beyond movies, I've also caught a few concerts at the Arlington over the years. One that stands out, seeing Bob Weir's Rat Dog right here on this stage. That was a night to remember.
Woke up this morning, felt around for my shoes.
So getting to return to this theater, this time for the US premiere of Horizon Chapter 2, feels extra special. And I imagine it's a meaningful for Kevin Costner too, since he has a home in Santa Barbara. You could tell in his introduction before the film how much it mattered to him.
It's an international film festival because our films travel the world. I just happen to live here. I want to get to this movie because that's what always brings us together. It doesn't really matter what you say. It's like, is it any good? Because it hasn't touched me. I'm surrounded by my family, my children. I'm surrounded by friends, and a cast who on its own decided to make their way here. Just stand up for a second, turn around to these people, the cast. You're looking up at me, and I look out at you every day, knowing you were there for me. Quentin, thank you for coming all the way up here, man. If you have anything to say, do not stay. Thank you so much, Santa Barbara, and your single belief in film, whoever it's coming from. Thank you.
A historic theater, a special premiere, and one of my favorite actors. Yeah, this is going to be a night to remember.
What? We talked enough.
Immediately after the screening of Horizon Chapter 2, Kevin Costner took the stage for a Q&A, and it was clear just how much this project means to him. He spoke about the legacy of the West, emphasizing the importance of telling stories that include women, not just as a side character, but as central figures in the history of the frontier. He also addressed the harsh realities of how European immigrants came and took land from Native Americans, acknowledging the deep and complicated history that Horizon aims to explore.
Can you tell us about, you wanted to go against the Western method?
All I wanted to just remind us is when we look down into those plains and we see those towns, that this land, when we migrated west, we came with this dream. All our children in Europe were going to be second and third class citizens. There was no place for them in monarchies, but we were told if we could get across that Atlantic Ocean, there was a place. It was like the Garden of Eden. And if you were mean enough and tough enough, you could make it yours. And that dream that brought people across the Atlantic was the nightmare for the people who had been here for 15,000 years. And this land was contested all the way across America. And it was a bad ending for the Native Americans who existed here, who had found some equilibrium. But I'm not embarrassed about that. I'm just disturbed that we don't know more about it. And I was always bothered that we didn't have more women in our Westerns, because there was no Western without women.
When asked why now, why the urgency to make Horizon, he joked about his age, but then got serious, revealing that he's been working on this story since 1988. That's over 3 decades of passion and persistence to bring this vision to life.
This has been a passion project of yours, deeply personal. You've put in your money on it. Why the urgency for you to tell this story?
The urgency? Look at me. I started this in 1988. And I couldn't make it then, and it didn't seem like anybody liked it too much, so I thought, it, I'm going to write 4 more. I'm a romantic about what we can be and what we are.
And to wrap things up, he made it clear just how much Santa Barbara means to him. He considers it home. And in his words, by filling the Arlington Theatre that night, we made him feel like a giant.
I would also like to just say to you as we end the night, thank you for honoring film and filling this theater. This is where I make my home, and you made me feel like a giant tonight. Thank you.
Now here's my non-spoiler, honest review of Horizon Chapter 2 after experiencing its US premiere. What really stood out to me this time is how much the film leans into the female characters introduced in Chapter 1. There's far less focus on military action and more attention on their stories, their struggles, and their role in the ever-changing frontier. As I said earlier, I adore what Costner brings to the Western genre, and I am entirely invested in the tale he's weaving with Horizon. And knowing that Costner has written 5 chapters, I want them all. This could be my Lord of the Rings for Westerns.
Well, that wraps up this Western-themed episode. Thanks for joining us all the way from the Cold Spring Tavern to the Arlington Theatre to see Horizon 2. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming along with this ride, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Auf Wiedersehen.